Welcome to the Story Lab. We have returned one more time to the Star Wars galaxy and more specifically to the expanded universe to discuss the era after the new Jedi Order series. That series and the Yuuzhan Vong War described therein changed the galaxy and introduced us to a whole new generation of heroes. But what comes after? That is what we will explore today, Star Wars after the Yuuzhan Vong War. Of course, there have already been several books and comics that explore that era, and while we will come up with our own version in this experiment, we shall review the original version first. These are the major points of the saga after the Yuuzhan Vong War. The galaxy finds itself in a second civil war, where Jacen serves as a military officer. The Dark Lady Lumia returns and seduces Jacen to the dark side. Jacen takes over the Galactic Alliance and rules it as a Sith Lord. Jacen and Tahiri have a messed up relationship. After rediscovering Admiral Dala and receiving help from her hidden fleet, the Jedi and loyal Alliance members are able to fight back against Jacen. Jacen kills Mara Jade before being killed himself by none other than his twin sister Jaina. For years after, Luke and his son Ben search for the reason that Jacen could have fallen to the dark side. During this time a new batch of Sith returns to the galaxy, revealing that they had been in hiding on Korriban this whole time. On their journeys together, Luke and Ben discover that the ancient dark side creature Abeloth has awakened due to Jacen's actions and is now corrupting the galaxy. Jedi and Sith together put her back to sleep. In the far future, the galaxy has once more fallen to the Sith and the remnants of the new Jedi Order, now led by Clone Wars survivors, stands against them. Okay, now coming up with our own version, what do we want to do differently? What we want to do differently. Jacen shall not turn to the dark side. We want to focus on people with no or an incomplete character arc during the Yuuzhan Vong War. The Galactic Alliance should be united and strong, seeing as it seems to be the first truly galaxy-uniting government. The impact of the Yuuzhan Vong War should be felt more deeply. We want every character from the new Jedi Order series to at least get some appearances. And what of the original material do we want to keep? The storyline shall focus on the Jedi Order. The fight between light and dark side should be return. In that spirit, a return of the Sith is fair. The Galactic Alliance shall eventually be in conflict with the Jedi and the Jedi separate themselves from the Alliance again. If possible, keep most of the setup for the Abeloth story unchanged, so that story could happen in our timeline as well. Okay, let's give these parameters to the supercomputer and see what it comes up with. The analysis is through. Let's look at the results. Star Wars: The New Jedi Order, Chapter 2. It is around 5 years after the Yuuzhan Vong War. Many Vong-formed worlds have been returned to their former state, except for Coruscant, where rebuilding is a still ongoing process. The new Jedi Order's Academy has remained in the Maw installation, where the children are safe from any lingering anti-Jedi sentiments and dark side influences. However, Luke has organized a new Jedi headquarters on the planet Ossus, which is where the Jedi Knights and Masters now live, train and start their missions from. The planet itself is being brought back to life by Yuuzhan Vong engineers. Luke also makes sure to signal everyone that Ossus is a public place that can be visited by everyone that wishes to talk to the Jedi or become one. In fact, the Order has seen a great influx of new recruits and there are actually several non-Jedi living on the planet as well. The Galactic Alliance meanwhile is also enjoying growth. Although there are still social and economic problems to be solved, the Alliance is strong and united. The Empire is now fully integrated into the Alliance and even the Chiss shown interest in allying themselves officially with the Alliance. To celebrate the occasion and the anniversary of the Alliance, a gala is taking place on a planetoid that marks the tri-point of the borders of former Republic, Empire, and Chiss space. Nearly all the heroes are present and mingle at the party, a notable exception being Han and Leia Solo, who have retired to Kashyyyk for good. What none of the attendees know is that the planetoid was also a hiding place for a Jedi Purge survivor who had frozen himself in carbonite and hidden on this remote planet, where he thought no one would ever find him. The Jedi reemerges when the old mining outpost on the planet is reactivated in preparation for the celebration. Having slept for so long and with his equipment having malfunctioned, it had been supposed to wake him much earlier. The former Jedi had gone quite mad. He observes the gathering on the planetoid and is enraged by the fact that the Jedi are now working with the Empire and that they are being led by a descendant of Darth Vader himself. The mad Jedi survivor attacks the gathering, injuring several former Imperials and Jedi before escaping, leaving everyone quite shocked. Soon after, the fallen Jedi starts a personal crusade to wipe out the remnants of the Empire. Kyp Durron leads a Jedi mission to stop him. There is quite a lengthy chase, during which Alimara is temporarily captured by the mad Jedi. Finally, Kyp tries to appeal to the Dark Jedi's conscience by relating his own dark crusade against the Empire, but the mad Jedi is not convinced. He is finally killed by Alimara. The experience has a calming effect on Kyp Durron, who decides to abdicate from the High Council and return to the Maw to become a full-time teacher. Alimara is chosen as Kyp's replacement on the High Council. Unfortunately, no one realizes what being captured by the mad Jedi had done to Alimara. The Twi'lek goes on a solo mission to the center of the galaxy, where she finds a lost secret cloning lab of the Emperor and gives herself fully to the dark side. The story picks back up another 5 years later. A new class of Jedi students has just left the academy behind and come to Ossus to train under a master, like the grown-ups that have joined the Order directly. Among them are the 2 Horn children and other young Jedi that we will get to know over the course of the story. Corran Horn offers to train Valine, but the proud young boy refuses, so Corran becomes his daughter's teacher instead. Valine wanders around Ossus searching for his teacher. Around the same time, Luke Skywalker has a mysterious vision of him on a faraway place, where he seemed to be desperately needed. After conferring with Mara, Luke decides to depart on a bit of a pilgrimage to find the meaning of his vision. The lead of the Order on Ossus was temporarily given to Trazina Lobi, since Klighal does not feel she was a leader. Kenth Hammer is on Coruscant and Saba Sebatine has abdicated from the High Council in favor of Kamsalusa as a representation of the Academy. Alimara is also on Ossus. She has not yet revealed her new allegiance to the dark side, but has become extremely mischievous and, more importantly, seductive. Manipulating the teenage boy, Alima slowly gets Valine Horn to experiment with the dark side as well, and the boy can't help but slide towards it. Eventually, Alima seduces him to travel to the deep core, where he discovers the same secret installation that Alima had found and the army of Darth Vader-like cyborg troopers that were lying in wait there to be activated using the dark side. Isolated with him, Alima gets Valine to turn fully to the dark side and adopt the title Dark Lord of the Sith. She also gets him to think that he should end the Skywalker dynasty by abducting the 10-year-old Ben Skywalker. So, Valine uses his new army to attack Ossus and abduct Ben. The Jedi on Ossus are completely shocked. Mara and Corran Horn, both with their new apprentices, immediately start chasing after Valine. Being chased by the Jedi, Valine decides to distract the Jedi by attacking Coruscant. He blows up the Jedi embassy and with it Kenth Hammer and then invades the surface. Another Jedi task force, led by Jacen and Jaina, engages Valine's army on the surface of Coruscant, but Valine himself is slipping away. He sabotages the Durium world brain of the planet, causing it to go mad and almost destroy Coruscant. Finally, Jacen finds a solution by fusing with the Durium and thus stabilizing it again. This was a great sacrifice, because from now on, Jacen himself no longer exists, him and the Durium having become one being. Valine meanwhile escapes the planet chased only by Mara and Corran. At the same time, Alimara makes a move in secret. She kills Trazina and with her the last active member of the High Council besides Alima herself. Alima uses these circumstances as an excuse to declare herself the new Grand Master of the Order and demand that all other Jedi follow her lead from now on. Battlemater Kyle Katarn refuses, but is killed by Alimara in a duel, when she surprisingly uses the dark side to destroy him. Not long after, Mara, Corran and their apprentices catch up with Valine and confront him. Through the love of his father, sister, and the endless forgiveness of Ben, Valine is freed from the dark side. In fact, the darkness is almost burned out of him when he opens himself to the Force presence of his extended family. Valine repents but tells the other Jedi to beware. After all, there were always two, a master and an apprentice. Alima Ra is still not revealing herself to be a Sith though. Rather, she is pretending to be a benevolent ruler, while secretly pushing for tyrannical practices and manipulating more Jedi into following her to the dark side. Her newest target is Tahiri Vela, who has returned from the unknown regions. Alima reawakens Tahiri's pain in losing Anakin and tells her of the secret of reanimating someone using the dark side, referring to the Valine's Dark Army. Finally, she convinces Tahiri to travel to a dark side nexus in the vicinity of the Maw, where she promises that Tahiri could meet Anakin again. Other Jedi fall more easily to the dark side, and soon, Alima has a little army of enforcers around her. Alima then declares the Jedi an independent nation and demands reparations from the Alliance for the Empire's Jedi Purge and the New Republic's turn on the Jedi during the Yuuzhan Vong War. Of course, the Alliance refuses, and Alima uses this opportunity to launch an attack on several core worlds using her Darksiders and military equipment she had ordered from the black market in secret. In turn, the Alliance declares war against the new Jedi nation. But of course, not all Jedi are part of this. Apart from those serving Alima because of manipulation, fear, or unwillingness to fight, Jaina, Lobaka, Mara, Koran and others have assembled a Jedi resistance and distanced themselves from Alima's nation. Also, the Jedi Academy in the Maw was still free, since Alima feared attacking the powerful masters there, and they were cut off from the galaxy anyway. The Jedi resistance at first tried to convince the Alliance that the Alima was not speaking for all Jedi, but the Alliance leaders were unwilling to lend any military or diplomatic help to the Jedi resistance, that was after all unofficial, included a former Sith Lord in Valine, and consisted only of a few of the Jedi, basically everyone that had not been on Ossus. In addition, Alima declares these Jedi traitors and has her Dark Enforcers hunt them down. The Resistance tries to find help with some of their former allies including Wedge, Gavin Darklighter and even Jagged Fell, but are turned away for various reasons. Finally, they hide with Han and Leia on Kashyyyk. Here they are surprised to find the help they had been looking for. It turns out that while they had said that they had retired, Han and Leia had really been building a secret underground network with the RYN, Lando, and the former Smugglers Alliance. They had greatly expanded upon the old RYN network and now possessed a galaxy-spanning, loosely organized and entirely unnoticed network of spies, informants, safe houses etc., everything the Jedi Resistance could have asked for. With their help, the Jedi Resistance figures out Almia's whole story, including the fact that she had turned to the dark side years ago and had worked on a plan to take over the galaxy ever since. In fact, Alima had set up many secret bases and studied the old Sith on Korriban and other worlds. The Jedi Resistance had a lot of work to do. Jaina, who had tried to be the diplomat of the Jedi for a while, now accepted her role as Sword of the Jedi once more and prepared to lead them into battle against Alima. Over the course of the next few adventures, they round up Alima's bases and secrets, while still being chased by the Dark Enforcers. But they then discover that the danger is much greater than they had thought. The Dark Army that Valine had used had been only a splinter group. In fact, Alima had been building a much bigger fleet in secret, enough to fully attack the Galactic Alliance. In Alima's court, the Dark Enforcers have now begun to fight amongst each other, in the hopes of proving themselves worthy of becoming the new second Sith alongside Alima. But the Chilek already has someone else in mind that she is waiting for to return, and that would be more powerful than any of her enforcers, Tahiri Vela. As told earlier, Tahiri had traveled to a dark side nexus hoping to find the powers to reanimate Anakin somehow. On the edge of the nexus, she had stopped though, unsure whether this was the right path. To her surprise, someone showed up next to her at this moment, Luke Skywalker. The Jedi Master had been guided to this place at this time by his visions. With Luke at her side, Tahiri does enter the Force Nexus and is able to connect to the Force not in terms of the dark side but as the pure unifying Force. The two do encounter the spirit of Anakin, who reveals to Tahiri that he had created a holocron of himself before his death and that this holocron was still waiting for Tahiri at the abandoned base at Eclipse. Together, Luke and Tahiri travel to Eclipse and retrieve that holocron. With Tahiri now fully healed from the loss of Anakin and the young Jedi, at least in some way, returning to the galaxy, Luke feels that the task the visions had shown him was now done. Upon returning from their mission, Luke and Tahiri realize what has happened in the meantime, but Luke still finds that what he had done with Tahiri had been more important, since had she fallen to the dark side, would have been a far more dangerous enemy than Alima even with her army. Still, Alima was powerful and a danger to the Jedi and the galaxy. Having learned of Alima's secret army, Jaina had traveled back to Jag Fel to convince him to help her lead a defense against the army. But Jag can't. In fact, he had been assigned as a sub-commander to an alliance force under Admiral Pelian's leadership that was tasked with attacking Ossus. As soon as this task force is underway, Alima makes her move. She reveals her army and sends them to various undefended planets, attacking them simultaneously and making it impossible for the alliance to defend them all. The Jedi resistance is even more screwed. They have barely a few starfighters but have to defend the Maw installation and other worlds. So, they come up with a radical idea for getting a new ally. They travel to Zonama Sekut and ask the Yuuzhan Vong for help. The Yuuzhan Vong and Sekut, through the new Magister Dani, agree, grow an entire fleet of ships and travel back to the known galaxy alongside the Jedi. At first, the appearance of a Yuuzhan Vong fleet causes widespread panic on the various planets that were already under attack by Alima, but soon they find that the Jedi had come to free them. Luke and Tahiri lead the counterattack on the Maw installation before returning to Ossus and taking the Jedi headquarters back. Jaina meanwhile leads a task force to Coruscant, where Alima herself is attacking. Unfortunately, Alima had brought her strongest forces to Coruscant. Maybe there is even a lost superweapon in there. Jaina and the hastily grown Sekotan fleet find themselves outmatched. But then, to their surprise, an alliance task force comes to help. Pelian had observed everything that had been going on and had sent Jag back to help the Jedi. Fighting side by side, Jaina and Jag managed to destroy most of Alima's forces, but they are still relatively matched. In the end, both Jaina and Jag, as well as Alima's dark flagship, crash land on Coruscant. Facing Alima's immortal soldiers, Jag thinks that all is lost, and romantically asks Jaina to marry him before they both die on the crash site. But Jaina is unconcerned. Even while she gives her answer, a yes of course, she storms out onto the open field between the wrecks, ready to engage Alima and her forces. As soon as the Sith Lady and her troops step onto Coruscant's surface, they are flooded with light. It is Jaina and her fellow Jedi's radiance, amplified by the presence of Jason and the World Brain. Like Ben and the others had burned the darkness out of Valine, the Jedi with the help of the planet burned the evil army. The soldiers, no more than shells kept alive by the dark side, disintegrate, and all of Alima's enforcers are freed of the dark influence. Only Alima herself has fallen so far that she elects to take her own life when flooded with the light. The battle is won. The Jedi Nation formally surrenders to Pelian and asks to be reintegrated into the Alliance. Though the galaxy is a bit apprehensive, they agree when the Yuuzhan Vong declare that they would join the Jedi Nation and thus the Alliance as well. While the dust is settling and new profound insights are made about the nature of the dark side, Cal Omas agrees to re-establish the High Council. Luke assembles the Jedi to name the masters that would serve on the council. Naturally, Klighal and Kam Salusa are reinstated as the healer and teacher. To replace the military mind of Kenth Hamner, Kian Farlander is promoted to the council, and Trazina Lobi is replaced by Lobaka. For the seat formerly occupied by Alima and Kip before her, Luke shows his Zek, a voice that would always speak against the dark side and could still understand it. Jaina is almost a bit disappointed to not get that last seat, but Luke has one more surprise for everyone. He himself would not take a seat, nor return to the position of leader of the new Jedi Order. He explains that he feels his role is to be a guide like he had been for Tahiri, and the Order was to be led by a new master. He appoints Jaina in his stead. Thus ends this second chapter of the saga of the new Jedi Order. The Jedi return to Ossus and the Maw to continue a new order. Luke is still part of it, but no longer leads the Order, that is now a separate nation, with many Yuuzhan Vong choosing to remain on Ossus as well, when the others return to the unknown regions. And while everyone settles into their new roles and the holocron of Anakin Solo helps instructing new Jedi Knights, Luke has one last surprise ready. He asks Tahiri if she would consider becoming Ben's master, so that he could become a great Jedi, ready to face the next danger that could come over the galaxy, something that Luke had already felt stirring in the Maw cluster. And from then on, the story can turn to other things. Please note that everything presented here is simply the results of an experiment. No part of this presentation is intended as a correction of an existing story or claims to be the real story. The selection or omission of any parts of the source material is not to be understood as commentary, positive or negative, on the original productions. These are simply thoughts and experiments based on existing material, and none of it could be created without the work of all those involved in creating the original works. As with any scientific result, you may utilize any of the story ideas that resulted from these experiments for your own experiments or production, while citing this experiment as its source. It is now closing time for our lab. Goodbye until next time.